Good afternoon. My name is Esther Steele, and I'm wrestling with the question, what does it mean to be human? For our sci-fi movie, I chose I, Robot. The storyline was written back in 1950 by Isaac Asimov. Asimov was actually a atheist, but his editor liked to interweave religion within the stories. He said it sold the stories better. Well, sometime around 2002, 2003, they reworked the stories and loosely created the movie I, Robot. The short summary that I got offline to make it much shorter is in 2035, technophobic homicide detective Dale Spooner of the Chicago PD investigates the apparent suicide of leading robotics scientist Dr. Alfred Lanning. Unconvinced of the motive, Spooner's investigation into Lanning's death reveals a trail of secrets and agendas within the USR, known as the United States Robotics Corporation, and suspicions of murder. So you have Detective Dale Spooner. He's the Chicago Police Department. Sonny's the robot. Dr. Susan Calvin is the robotics expert. And Dr. Lanning is the founder and inventor of USR. And he's also the creator of Sonny. Some of the science behind the movie is the Turing, which I spelt it wrong, it's Turing test. It's also known as the imitation game. Can a person tell the difference between a human and a robot? So the way that this test goes is you have an interrogator in one room who cannot see the human or the computer, and they're texting back and forth. And the human's trying to help the interrogator know that he is the human, whereas the computer is trying to make the interrogator think that it's the human. So Turing said that I believe that in about 50 years' time, it will be possible to program computers with storage capacity of about 10 nights to make them play the imagination game so well that an average interrogator will not have more than 70% chance of making the right indication after 5 minutes of questioning. I believe that at the end of the century, the use of words in general education, educated opinion, will have altered so much that one will be able to speak of machines thinking without expecting to be contradicted. So for me, 5 minutes just did not seem like long enough for the interrogator to be able to really give a good opinion, maybe 30 minutes, an hour. But for Turing, he looked at the learning computer or the artificial intelligence computer like a child that learns from its environment, calling it the child mind. The idea of a thinking, learning robot with the same intelligence as humans brings up many questions. This movie has several viewpoints and underlying religious ideas, but I will be focusing on substance dualism with the idea of the Turing test As I go along, I will explain a few scenes as I identify the human condition. The movie opens with Dale Spooner dreaming of a car crash. In his dream, a truck driver fell asleep at the wheel, causing Detective Spooner in one car and a dentist and his 12-year-old daughter, Sarah, to crash into the lake. A robot jumps in to save them and calculates Spooner has a 45% survival rate versus Sarah's 11% survival rate. The robot rescues Spooner and not Sarah. But Spooner wakes up. Is it possible his dream is real? For Spooner, he lives in World 2 of W. Paul Jones's Theological Worlds. The human condition of World 2 is conflict and vindication. His world is chaotic. He's full of anger, hurt, and shame that he is alive and not Sarah. He takes his anger out on all robots. As can be seen in the top photo, Spooner has run down a robot with a purse that was running through the streets of Chicago. The robot was just taking the lady her purse, which had her inhaler in it because she was having an asthma attack. Well, the lady jumps all over Spooner for attacking her robot. Then the middle photo shows Spooner standing over the body of Dr. Lanning after Lanning had fell from his office window 50 stories high. Lanning had sent Spooner a cryptic message upon his death. As Spooner investigates, he tours the USR building with Dr. Calvin. While searching Dr. Lanning's office, he insists that Lanning's killer has to be a robot. But Dr. Calvin insists, no, that it can't be a robot. She reasons that the 3 laws of robotics that every robot is programmed with would not allow such a thing. Just then, Sonny, the humanoid robot, jumps out of a box of robot parts. He grabs a gun and jumps out the window, landing on the ground floor. Spooner and Calvin chase Sonny to a warehouse full of new robots waiting to be programmed. The lower picture shows all these new robots standing in formation. According to Dr. Calvin, there should be 1,000 robots. When she looks, there are 1,001. So, Aslow's 3 rules of robotics include that a robot may not injure a human being through the inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. A robot must obey the orders given it by the human, except when such orders would conflict with the first law. A robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first and the second law. Well, Dr. Calvin had told the robots to stand in formation and not to move. She starts asking questions of the robots. Where is the extra robot? One of us is the answer she got. And she keeps questioning them and getting the same similar questions. And of course, Spooner, he gets mad and starts shooting robots. After about the 3rd robot, Sonny kind of moves in formation and catches Spooner's attention. And then Sonny takes off running through the wall where he's caught and taken back to the USR for decommission. But first, actually, he's taken to the Chicago Police Department and Spooner gets the chance to interrogate him. So here, at first, I thought Sonny might live in World 3 of Jones's worlds because he was different and has emptiness and unknowing. But as I read more, I decided that Sonny lives within World 1. He was separated from his father, creator and maker, Dr. Lanning. Sonny wants to come home to be a part of a family of friendship, to feel like he's important, and that he does have emotions and feelings like Spooner. Here are the scenes from the movie capturing Sonny's emotions and learning. As Spooner interrogates Sonny, he asked, Sonny if a robot could write a symphony or create a canvas into a beautiful masterpiece. And Sonny turns the question around and says, "Can you?" To which Spooner could not answer. As he keeps interrogating him, Sonny asks, "What does a wink signify?" Spooner replies, "It's a sign of trust, a human thing." Well, as it keeps going and the interrogation goes on, it escalates into Sonny getting mad and slamming his fist down on the table. And you can see his anger in the left picture here. So Sonny has one other emotion that really caught my attention. He's taken back to the USR for decommission. And as Dr. Calvin gets ready to inject the nanites that'll kill Sonny, he asked her, "Will it hurt?" He has a fear and wonder at the same time of death. But Dr. Calvin doesn't kill Sonny. She gets another robot and puts in his place. But the story continues with Sonny having dreams. He dreams of a man standing on a hill. And these are robots down here, and the man is the savior of the robots. At least that's Sonny's view of it. So that leads me into Rene Descartes. He is famous for the phrase, "I think, therefore I am." In his Meditations 1 through 6, he's a substance dualist, that the body is a machine that works according to their own laws. So the mind is the spiritual and unseen. The body is the physical and touchable. And in his meditations, he's sitting by the fireside in his PJs and writing his paper, and he starts questioning whether he is awake or if he's dreaming. He asked a lot of questions, and he finally comes to the conclusion that he is awake, that he is, that it is real. He reasons that he must exist. There has to be someone asking and answering all the questions. He then decides that the mind knows more than the body. For Descartes, there is a body with form or matter. It can be felt, moved, and seen by others, but there is also the mind, the place of dreams, of thoughts and emotions that cannot be seen unless the person shares it with another. So in the movie, you'll hear Dr. Lanning several times in the background talking about the ghost in the machine. The ghost in the machine came from a book written around 1949 by Gilbert Ryle. and the name of it is Concept of Mind. So for Ryle, he argues that Descartes makes a category mistake. An example that he gives is visitors coming. We're going to use Mercer to the Mercer University campus, and he's being shown around the campus, and he's shown the library, he's shown the theology building, the nursing building, the cafeteria, and all of the buildings. Well, then the visitor asked, when am I going to see the university? So he has a category mistake. Where he doesn't realize that the university, that all the campus, the library, the cafeteria are all part of the university. So dualism, the mind and body, are distinct entities. The words just describe a human confusion about concepts. Philosophy uses categories for general ideas, but the concept of mind is not the concept of a physical concept. I'm still working on trying to get my thoughts around Ghost in the Machine. But I do have a question. When you look at Sonny and you look at Spooner, who is human and who is robot? If you haven't seen the movie, you may not know. But I would argue that Sonny has the emotions and the ability to learn, that he may have that spirit of a human. Whether God would allow that or not is a whole nother rabbit to chase down through there. But he does have a lot of the characteristics that are human. Whereas Spooner, in his struggle and his anger, his dream was real. And in real life, he was saved. His left arm and part of his left side was put back together as a robot. And if you watch the movie, you'll see where he finally comes to terms with the fact that he is a robot and Sonny is a robot. And maybe there's something to the fact that Sonny is an intelligent, thinking being. And as I've done the research, I keep hearing that the idea coming back to, well, what about aliens? What if they come to Earth? What if it's us that cannot communicate with the aliens? What if we're the ones that are less intelligent and the aliens are more intelligent, but we think they're just stupid because they can't talk to us, they can't communicate in our language? Which brings to a question of, who am I? And who is Sonny? Who is Spooner? It's a question that so many people ask. But thank you for listening. I hope you learned something.
Esther, it's lunch.
Okay, I was recording, but